All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a formal criminological look at the Bengaluru Seegehalli case. We're not just looking at the what happened here, we really want to dig into the how and the why. We're going to break down the psychological and environmental factors to understand exactly how a web of seemingly non-violent deceit escalated into devastating physical violence. It's really a textbook case of how hidden underlying pressures can create a completely lethal environment within a single family unit.
To make sense of this tragedy, we've broken our dossier down into 6 key areas of analysis: the case overview of the subjects, the financial fraud catalyst, the escalating tensions, the triple homicide incident itself, the post-incident apprehension, and finally, a deep dive into motive and premeditation.
Starting right off with Section 1, Case Overview, the subjects.
So, who are we looking at here? On one side, we have the victims, 55-year-old father Somasundar, 48-year-old mother Muthulakshmi, and the 20-year-old younger daughter Supriya. And on the other side, the primary suspects, 24-year-old elder daughter Shwetha and her live-in partner Kenneth. Now here's the detail that really makes you stop and think. Both of these suspects are actually engineering graduates. When we study criminology, we look really closely at background and education. To see 2 highly educated young adults pivot to such extreme violence, well, it's a massive anomaly that tells us there's a whole lot more going on beneath the surface.
Moving on to Section 2, Catalyst, the financial fraud.
It's wild, but the root of this horrific case isn't actually violent at all. It starts with calculated, white-collar deception. The suspects allegedly took out unauthorized loans using the names and official documents of Shwetha's parents. And they did this entirely behind their backs. From a pure criminology standpoint, this sets a really dark baseline. They were essentially living a double life, playing house on one hand while literally stealing their own family's identities for cash on the other.
And we're not talking about pocket change here. They racked up a secret debt of around 30 lakh rupees. To put that into perspective, for an average middle-class family, that is a mountain of debt. It's a life-altering amount of money. Think of this number like a ticking time bomb in our case file. The second that cash was handed over, the countdown started. You simply cannot hide a 30 lakh debt forever. Eventually, the bank is going to come knocking, and exposure is totally inevitable.
Which leads us directly to Section 3, Escalation of family tensions.
So, what happens when you mix that ticking time bomb with pre-existing family drama? According to official reports, Shwetha had actually told people she, quote, felt restricted and harbored deep resentment toward her parents. This gives us our psychological baseline. You see, this massive fraud didn't just happen out of nowhere. It was planted in soil that was already incredibly toxic. When you combine that intense, simmering internal anger with the terrifying reality that you're about to be busted for a major financial crime, you're basically building a pressure cooker.
You can literally see the collision course happening right in front of us. On one side, you've got Shwetha's internal turmoil, this slow-burning feeling of being trapped and resentful. On the other side, the harsh, unavoidable external reality of bank notices suddenly showing up at the family's front door. In our field, we always look for the spark, the exact moment a thought turns into a violent action. Those bank notices, that was the spark. The secret was out, the walls were closing in, and the suspects were completely cornered by their own lies.
That brings us to Section 4, the incident, triple homicide.
The way this actually played out is honestly one of the most chilling aspects of the entire report. It wasn't just some sudden crime of passion where someone snapped in an argument. No, this spanned across 2 full days. On day 1, the mother, Muthulakshmi, was killed at the suspect's apartment, and then they just waited. On day 2, the father and the younger sister arrived at that same apartment and were subsequently attacked. Just think about that for a second. The ability to commit a homicide, stay right there at the crime scene, and literally wait overnight for the rest of your family to arrive, it shows a level of cold, detached calculation that is genuinely terrifying.
Next up is Section 5, Post-Incident Apprehension.
So what happens right after? Well, they follow a pretty textbook flight response. Step 1, Shwetha and Kenneth bolt. They flee Bangalore and cross state lines all the way to Puducherry. But Step 2, the authorities were right on their tail, using tracking methods to pinpoint their location and arrest them. This desperate run for it tells us they were instantly aware of the gravity of what they'd done. It was pure self-preservation kicking in, even if it didn't last very long.
Finally, let's look at Section 6, Motive Analysis and Premeditation.
This is where we hit the absolute core conflict of this whole criminological study. We have 2 very different stories.
On one side, Shwetha claims she acted totally alone when it came to the actual murders. She's basically framing this as an isolated crime of passion, fueled purely by her own anger toward her parents. But then, on the other side, we have the official police hypothesis. The authorities are strongly leaning toward joint premeditation. Their theory: this wasn't about passion at all. It was a cold, calculated strategy by both suspects to permanently silence the parents and bury that 30 lakh rupee secret for good.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, we're left with a really haunting question. Was this horrific event just an uncontrolled explosion of family resentment that finally boiled over? Or was it a ruthless, calculated act of self-preservation just to cover up a mountain of stolen money? It really makes you wonder just how fast a web of financial lies can unravel into unthinkable violence. Thanks so much for joining me to break down this case file today.